Hello, Internet, and welcome to episode 5 of Braindrizzle. I'm here, as always, with Jack. Hello, Jack.
Hey, how's it going?
I'm good, and just a reminder, if you're watching on YouTube, we are also on iTunes if you prefer that way, and please consider leaving us a rating and or comment on iTunes.
Yeah, man, don't leave us hanging.
With that out of the way, let's get into our first bit of science news with some synthetic biology news.
Ooh.
A French biotech company, I think it's French, recently produced a precursor to an anti-malaria drug on an industrial scale with yeast.
You know, I do have a mild obsession about the progress being made for the cure for malaria. I'd really like to see malaria cured because it is such a devastating disease that hangs out pretty much in warm climates in some of the poorest areas of the planet. It is a major contributor to extreme poverty that we see in third world nations. They got that, and then they got malaria. I mean, that's just a kick to the nuts, and we gotta do something about that. I think that's why.
But just because this isn't a malaria cure, this is the best malaria treatment on the market, and it's based on something called artemisinic acid. And before, that was only extracted from one kind of plant, but now they've made 39 tons of the stuff from yeast bioreactors, which could be turned into 40 million treatments.
Wow.
This is the first industrial-scale use of synthetic biology, so a genetically engineered microbe or whatever, to produce a medicine precursor.
There's only one thing that you can call that, and that's a step in the right direction.
Well, it's not all roses, unfortunately, because a lot of the farmers who grew the plant are getting a little pissed off.
And, I'm sorry, but this is fucking malaria we're talking about. They can switch to a different crop, okay? When you're a farmer, you have to be prepared to do that sometimes. It's part of their job. This is fucking malaria we're talking about. Oh my god. Okay, tell me why.
These are not the wealthiest farmers, so they were growing this, being partially funded by charitable organizations to grow this crop to be turned into the medicine.
So these are poor farmers who are being subsidized by private organizations to grow this medicine, and their livelihood is being taken away, and they don't have the option to grow something else?
I guess they're just a little concerned about the farmers, given that there's this new source. I mean, I'm not really that concerned. I'm sort of with you. But it sort of is an issue, because, I mean, they're not on full-scale production yet, so they're going to introduce the synthetic version slowly. It still has to be approved by the World Health Organization.
Where are the farmers who grow this plant, and what is the plant exactly?
Plant is called sweet wormwood.
Ah.
And the farmers are... I know China is one of the countries where it's being grown, and some other countries in that region, I believe. The full information is in the article.
Rural China is a little bit of an economic clusterfuck in some ways, so I can kind of see that. But one easy fix would be to lift the prohibition on absinthe. The wormwood could go to that. The subsidies, instead of coming from charity, would start coming from Anheuser-Busch.
Maybe. Ultimately, I'm really excited about this. It's synthetic biology is finally starting to pay off.
You say that the technology is starting to pay off, and I agree.
It's sort of depressing that it took 7 years to get from when they first developed the yeast that could make the artemisinic acid to full-scale production, but I guess it's the nature of the beast.
It is. You have to keep in mind that they're not talking about production in theory. They're talking about a full-scale industrial. That takes business planning, that takes building a facility, and designing and engineering the equipment that is processing the biomass. They probably had to design, customize, and straight up invent several different machines. I mean, there are probably at least 5 patents that have come as a result of this project.
Probably.
Just to let you know, anybody who has worked in a plant and taken a look at just all the machines to do something as simple as laundry, for instance, or putting dog food into bags. If you've ever been to any kind of plant, even just a packing plant, or even just kind of a warehouse that has a conveyor belt, it's a little mind-boggling just the kind of machines. You start to wonder, how did they get this machine to fit this box or fit this container exactly so that it could be streamlined over here so that people could grab it efficiently? And then you realize that they they brought up an engineer who built it, or they brought out a technician to customize the machine or adjust the machine to their product, or they designed their product to fit the machine. One of the two. Somewhere they had to make that all fit together somehow. That's neither here nor there. That's a little bit boring if you want to talk about conveyor belts and trucks and...
I always want to talk about conveyor belts. I don't know about you. I'm a conveyor belt fanatic.
Dude, it's like the most boring roller coaster in the world. I do always get the urge to jump on a conveyor belt and then, use it like a treadmill or something. I never did, though, which is probably pretty good because I might be injured or,
Mostly just injured.
Yeah, I probably would have gotten injured and had to deal with financial consequences that were even worse than the money problems I was already having at the time when I was doing plant work. But that doesn't change the fact that every time I saw a conveyor belt, I just got the urge to jump up there and start running. That reminds me, somebody actually once made a slide out of a very long roller. It was a roller slide, but the roller, I think, was actually taken from an old plant, and you used to send boxes down it. And they just, set it up so that you went up this tall ladder, and then you just went down this thing like a slide.
How was that legal?
I think they tore it down because, in retrospect, that was notoriously unsafe, but oh my god, that was, my favorite playground ever.
That's messed up. Anyways, getting back to the story, so basically once they get approved by WHO for the semi-synthetically derived version of the drug, they're going to start introducing it, basically to stabilize the fluctuating market that results from harvesting the plant. Right now it's really volatile with the different sources of funding.
That's an important part of this puzzle as to how to deal with the farmers. Honestly, though, if you think about it, it's not necessarily the developer's problem.
Yeah.
It's malaria. We gotta get this out here. The farmers are gonna have to do what they can. Perhaps the charity organizations that fund the farming of this particular plant, maybe they could start channeling funding toward helping subsidize the farmers to transition to something else as the production of this particular material goes from sweet wormwood sourced to yeast sourced.
Another thing mentioned in the article, it'll be all linked in the video description on YouTube, but that one of the big sort of funding organizations went under somehow or got reabsorbed into another organization, so that a big chunk of funding is going away.
Wow, perfect timing.
Yeah, and I know that a lot of people are going to be like, oh, this is a big company and they're going to exploit, but apparently they're planning to sell at a no loss, no gain price.
Corporations, man! That's what I have to say to those motherfuckers. Don't be so cynical, God.
So apparently they're selling it for $350 to $400 per kilogram, and I'm sure that's probably quite a few treatments.
Don't know the street price of that, so you lost me.
Yeah, I don't know either. Not to worry, some big French biotech corporation isn't going to exploit poor people in Africa and stuff. Ultimately, good news.
I wonder if this particular big French corporation is going to sell this at a loss so that they can use the brownie points to get absinthe made legal. And then they start buying up all the wormwood. Tell the farmers, you work for us now. Absinthe! Absinthe for everyone.
They are going to sell at a break-even price, apparently. Well, that's the plan, anyways.
And they will make their profit with absinthe and use pressure to cause an overturning of the prohibitions.
Why not just make the absinthe molecules in yeast?
You don't really know what absinthe is, do you?
It's like a plant that makes you high, right? That you add to alcohol, right?
Absinthe is an alcoholic beverage that has extra chemicals in it, which have psychedelic effects, more or less.
Why don't you just make those extra chemicals in yeast?
There's something to be said for being a connoisseur, and I don't know that most connoisseurs would necessarily go for that. Not only that, but using the actual wormwood is what creates the absinthe's distinctive flavor. There's also other herbs that go into the production. Absinthe actually started out as a medicine. It was a tonic for gastrointestinal health.
Wasn't cocaine also like a tonic back in the day?
Cocaine was added to tonics because cocaine was originally a medicine. It numbed tooth pain instantly, like numbed it to the bone. It relieved things like fatigue. It was prescribed to help a lot of different disorders. The problem is it was incredibly habit-forming, and thus became illegal as the shifting paradigms on the effects of drugs and medicine. Basically, the idea of what a drug is and what a medicine is began to get separated in the people's minds. You have to remember that alcohol was and still is used medicinally as a home remedy for a lot of things, like hot toddies, alcohol is in them. Cough medicine, swishing whiskey around your mouth to relieve a toothache, that's a common home remedy.
Whether or not you spit it out is debatable.
I mean, just like you can and you can't. Not everybody spits out their scope either. Using vodka as an astringent can actually help fight acne because it's alcohol. It kills bacteria.
That reminds me of when I was in Croatia. By the way, I've been to Croatia. My mom had a cold, and, like, the old couple we were renting our room from gave her, like...
Your mom had a cold, so she went to Croatia?
No, Anyway, the old lady that rented the house from, they gave her homemade schnapps and pepper as a cold remedy.
Black pepper?
Yeah.
On my father's side of the family, they put black pepper on everything because they swear up and down that it prevents colds. I've heard that one.
I'm told that the lighter fluid and pepper was a very, very bad combination.
Don't imagine it would taste very good.
But my point with the absinthe producing yeast was a way to make money, so I don't know why you have to stomp all over my dreams.
Honestly, if you produced it that way, you could possibly get around some current prohibition laws in certain countries.
I probably could, because there wouldn't be wormwood extract.
That is true. If you think about it, a lot of these laws weren't written to account for...
See, I'm a genius. I need just, like, a corporation filled with investors that just listen to my ideas.
Start cold calling for that. How about that? Well, I am looking for a corporation to fulfill my dreams for me.
I'm sure that would go over great.
Dude, I would love to do that. If you think about it, that'd be like the perfect replacement for Fairy Godmother. Fuck Fairy Godmother. I want an army of corporate minions.
Just investors and patent lawyers. Wall to wall.
Straight up. And secretaries. Oh, the secretaries.
I'd rather have my investors invest in AI so that AI could be my secretary.
With sexy, sexy proxy bots.
Oh god. Well, anyways.
You're thinking about it. You like that idea. You know you do.
See, this is why I'm glad it's not a video podcast. Anyways, do you want to see this great segue?
Sure.
Speaking of cold and viruses, I have another bit of news. Researchers found that infecting a plant with a virus can give them drought, cold, and heat resistance.
Is this virus hexadecimal by any chance?
No, that's a great show. But we shouldn't go on the tangent quite yet.
Okay, we'll save that tangent for later. I will bring it back up. Mark my words.
Yeah, no problem. It's kind of crazy, because apparently they tested volcanic soils and ground near Yellowstone National Park, where, like, the ground is, like, really hot, like 125 degrees Fahrenheit hot.
Damn.
Plants without a viral infection didn't grow. So it's really weird, because they don't really propose a mechanism. It still was interesting.
Grow some basil plants, some thyme plants, maybe some dill plants, all infected with the viruses. Then you could just drop your egg right onto that ground, fry it, and it's pre-herb seasoned because those plants are growing out of that ground.
That would be interesting.
We could sell these omelets for like $600 a piece.
But it was just really interesting to me because there was like a plant and then a fungus and a virus all in like one area. The combination somehow gave the plant drought resistance or sometimes cold resistance.
Yeah, that is pretty neat. It's nice when things just come together like that.
I hope they do more research because they don't really talk about like why that is.
I mean, that could be like, that could save the world, man.
And they say that it doesn't have to be like a full-blown infection. It can be like a localized infection in the plant. Then the entire plant still has the property.
Oh, neat. That is bizarre. I mean, it's shit like that that makes you understand why civilizations are still holding on to the concept of magic, man. I mean, holy fuck.
The only thing I can think of, this is coming straight out of my ass, but that the infection somehow prods the plant into producing some sort of other chemicals to brace itself for the infection, and that also imparts drought resistance or something.
Potentially. It's kind of like the radioactive spider gave him radiation poisoning and superpowers.
I'm wondering if they figure out what the mechanism is, could they engineer plants to always express that mechanism without the virus? Or engineer benign viruses that will trigger the response, but not damage the plants at all?
And see, maybe it's a change in the epigenome.
Maybe.
I think we're onto something.
Yeah, I just thought that was interesting. I'm like, what? That doesn't make sense. And before we get to my last sort of bit of news, I know I'm sort of going on and on about this, but this is just a quick bit of space news. Did you hear that scientists found 2 extra moons around Pluto?
I saw something about that, and they want to call one of them Vulcan, and apparently they have this poll online.
I know, it's awesome!
It is awesome, and it's kind of cool how they're crowdsourcing it, trying to get people involved to keep people's interest in these sorts of discoveries. But another interesting thought that I had was, wow, they actually have to do these things to keep people's interest in these sorts of stories, because it used to be something like this would have been big, huge motherfucking news. And now you notice that these discoveries of objects within our solar system is becoming smaller and smaller and smaller news ever since they found a new planet. And then as a result of finding this new planet and that new planet and a million other new fucking planets around Pluto, Pluto got demoted from planethood and became just a planetoid. So now when people say Tyson, everybody's all like, which one?
Dwarf planet.
They got demoted into being those dwarf planets, so now everybody hears the name Tyson and they're just like, which one? When it used to be you heard the name Tyson and you were just kind of like,
what's Tyson?
Hi, how's it going? And you put your hand over one of your ears because you thought that shit was funny. It was just kind of like, oh man, did you hear what Tyson said to Van Gogh? He asked him, are you gonna finish that? You get it? Ears!
I have no idea what you're talking about.
See, this is exactly what I'm talking about. Man, you don't remember the old Tyson. The boxer?
No.
He bit off part of some guy's ear in the ring, and then he got a face tattoo. And he has a speech impediment. Anyway, so when people said Tyson, they either thought the chicken or the boxer. Now you got this Neil deGrasse Tyson, and it used to be deGrasse referred to some kind of high school soap opera, and now you got this dude.
Neil deGrasse Tyson is awesome.
Yeah, he is. But the point is, like, oh, they found another planetoid. Oh, Pluto has another moon. Everybody's just kind of...
2 moons. No, I'm sorry. We're going to have a body in our solar system named Vulcan. Legitimately. That's awesome.
We used to name these things after gods. And now it's...
No, this is. Vulcan is the Roman god of fire.
Oh, that is true. Well, I guess it has its place, but here's the thing. These things are smaller news than they used to be, because there's so much more out there ever since we discovered the Oort cloud, and now we're looking at all the other galaxies. There's so much more out there. There's so much that is bigger than our solar system, and I think we as a culture is begin to really catch up with that fact. We're kind of gone beyond the solar system. The solar system is kid shit now.
But Vulcan.
Yeah, okay, it's kind of cool.
I think it was William Shatner who started on Twitter. He's like, well, you can write in names, and like when you were voting to name the moons, they had to be themed around Roman or Greek gods. And he's like, well, Vulcan's the Roman god of fire, so you could enter it in, and now it's winning.
We got to name it instead of some random guy in an office that no one's ever heard of, so that's kind of cool.
And it looks like the other moon is probably going to be named Cerberus, which is also badass.
Who?
Cerberus, the 3-headed dog.
Oh, yeah.
Because Pluto is the Roman version of Hades.
And he was also a dog?
No.
Disney? Pluto was the name of Goofy's dog.
Yes, that's also true. I thought you meant Cerberus, because Cerberus is a 3-headed dog, so I got confused.
Yeah, Cerberus is a dog, and so's Pluto. I'm sure they thought of that. I'm sure they took that into account.
I'm sure they did. And third place right now is Styx, as in the River Styx.
Or the band.
That too.
Can you imagine? It's just like this moon, Styx, erupts out from behind Pluto, god of the underworld, and carry on my wayward son.
Careful, we might get a copyright notice for singing.
Ah. Well, let me redo that, because I'm not entirely sure if that's a Styx song or not. Let's see. Come sail away, come sail away, come sail away with me.
So I don't care how impractical or small or cold or desolate that moon is, I want a colony in Vulcan. I don't care, like, if there's no value in it whatsoever.
Meanwhile, on Vulcan, and all you hear is fucking ice creaking.
Yeah, but still, that'd be so awesome!
Boring as shit, dude.
You're on a moon, a body in the universe, legitimately called Vulcan.
The whole place better be goth, and they better talk about the eternal night, because I will find a way to ruin your dreams somehow. Man.
You can't. I'm gonna be living on Vulcan.
Blast.
That'd be the coolest shit ever.
Yeah, the coldest shit ever.
Well, it'd be cold, but still.
Meanwhile, on Vulcan, and we have Q motoring his way out to the outhouse. Probably on a track, because so little gravity. But he still has to go to the outhouse, because it's Vulcan. You guys have outhouses.
That makes sense.
Perfect sense.
It'd be so shitty, probably.
And it looks just like one of those wooden outhouses, man. Okay, I'm just, like, imagining those two old people in Courage, their whole setup just getting transported out to Vulcan. And you're living in their house.
That'd be great.
Cartoons. I'm sorry, but I can't think of this seriously. It's all in the realm of cartoon and fiction for me. Just the idea of putting a colony on something that small and remote.
And called Vulcan.
It's called Vulcan. I'm gonna be an old person hearing about this colony. I'm just like, I remember when they named that! I remember when they discovered that! I remember a world without that place!
Somehow it becomes like a really huge colony because all the Star Trek nerds want to move there. That'd be the most hilarious thing ever. Like, it becomes like really advanced, and it's like the whole planet's a city, because like all the nerds are like, oh yeah, we gotta move to Vulcan.
The whole planet is a planetoid city-state with different covered with different counties. One of the counties is called Disturbia. That's where all the goths are, because they want to enjoy the eternal night. Another county is called Vampira, where all the people who are goths but don't want to say that they're goths, they want to say that they're something else, they go hang out there. And then you got all the nerds. They live in the county of Nerdia.
It sounds ideal.
That's how it's gonna go down, man, because...
No, I want to write a story where somehow the Vulcan, the tiny moon around the dwarf planet, becomes the power in the solar system because all the nerds move there and build like this giant advanced city.
Now, the gothic types, and goths who don't want to admit they're goths but really are goths, tend to have pretty high IQs, come to think of it. They pretty much are nerds. So yeah, I could see it.
And then we could call ourselves Vulcans.
And then your whole civilization falls due to massive amounts of club drama.
That wouldn't happen on Vulcan. We'd be very logical.
No, the county of Nerdia would be way logical. The rest of the colony would fall to pieces over some club drama.
Oh well, Nerdia will prevail.
Alright. Okay, so...
And then we figure out how to genetically engineer our ears to be pointy.
Because you have perfected civilization and live in a utopia and you have nothing better to do. I can see it.
Exactly. Okay, that's enough of a tangent for this story. Let's move on to...
I'm a little bit out of it. I noticed that you and I are very, very sluggish, and I think it's because of this blizzard that is on its way. Snowstorm Q. You want to explain that one? I think you have some explaining to do. What exactly do you have against the Midwest?
I have...
And Arizona?
Well, Arizona's kind of racist.
And the Western Seaboard?
Can't deny that, can you? No, this is Star Trek Q.
Oh.
You've got the wrong Q.
Okay, yeah, you got a point. But what about the rest of us, man? Why are you doing this? I'm not falling for this one again. I remember what happened last time you tried to tell me the Star Trek Q was involved.
Okay, it's not that Q, it's Q from James Bond.
I'd believe you if I hadn't figured out what the harp actually does.
What's the harp?
Oh, that thing that they use to detect the geoplates, that they found out that when they turn it on, the vibrations will actually cause small clouds to appear above it.
That's kind of awesome.
Basically, it uses sound vibrations, and then the echo reverberation gives it back information about the shape of the tectonic plates on the Earth. However, they found out that the vibration, when it dissipates into the air, will actually cause the moisture in the air to congeal, and it'll create a cloud. So, a bunch of conspiracy types decided that the government is using the HARP to make giant storms and hurricanes to try to control its people for some mysterious end, despite the fact that that kind of destruction takes money away from them, and if you go with the whole follow the money logic, that's totally illogical. I don't know.
I mean, the HARP just shows them the shape. They can't control that.
No, the HARP, above it, they found that when they turn it on, clouds form.
Oh, I mean the detection device causes cloud.
Yeah, the detection device causes clouds as a byproduct of the vibration that they use to try to...
Sorry, why don't they just use that to solve drought?
Exactly.
Because if there's no moisture in the air...
And not only that, but here's the thing. It doesn't create a rain cloud. It basically creates wispy clouds. Like, the clouds that it creates aren't even... It basically just makes condensation appear in the midair because of the vibration.
I see. Still kind of cool.
Yeah, it is kind of cool, and conspiracy nuts think that it does way more than it does.
Oh, conspiracy nuts. What would we do without you?
That would be a totally awesome... The way that conspiracy nuts think that the HARP works is a clear-cut James Bond weapon.
Wasn't there literally a weather machine in a James Bond movie?
Exactly, man! I mean, I can see where they're coming from, and that is kind of cool. It's almost a shame that it doesn't do more, because yeah, we could cure drought with that. I mean, the Midwest is currently in a huge drought.
First, you're complaining about the snow, which is precipitation, and then you're complaining about drought. Make up your mind.
No, I don't have to. I can be mad about both. I could be mad that the solution sucks, alright? If we didn't have a drought in the first place, then I wouldn't have to be grateful for the huge pain in the ass that is coming our way, man.
I'm sure you'll be fine. I live in Ontario, damn it. They've got snow.
Screw them. I don't want to hear it.
Like, dude, I'm in BC now, and they are so wimpy with snow. There's like an inch, and it's like, oh shit, close everything down.
Kansas is a little bit the same way because of the fact that we've had a drought for so long. We got a whole crop of new drivers who have never had to learn how to drive in conditions like we're about to have.
In Ontario, it's like, maybe close things down if it's up to your waist.
Oh god, here, there's a whole bunch of new city employees who have never had to deal with the snow like this because there's been so long of a drought. And it used to be they did not close school for anything. They decided, like, earlier today that they were gonna close school. The whole city is just shutting down for this blizzard, and I've seen snow come through, like, big snow. Not too long ago, just like maybe 5 years ago, there was a big old blizzard that came through that knocked out a whole bunch of power. Basically, we ended up with an ice storm, and then a blizzard on top of that. People were sealed in their homes because a sheet of ice had gone over the door, and then snow went on top of it. There were people who couldn't get into their cars. And I remember going to work, a generator, a gasoline generator, kept the power, and we were the only thing with power within that grid of about like 8 blocks or so. We had power, and it sucked because there was nowhere to go to lunch.
I'm sure it'll be fine.
Yeah, but I mean, it's like, it was too long ago that we've dealt with major snow, and then this is coming, and they're rolling up the sidewalks, and I'm beginning to think it's actually because of a lot of budget cuts that the city has made. The city just doesn't have the funds or the supplies to deal with this snow as effectively.
Probably.
Think about that. When nature strikes, you need a well-funded infrastructure to deal with these things. Otherwise, you have to shut things down, just like it's almost putting us back 60 years as far as copability with nature is concerned. This city and many other cities who have found austerity to be appealing thanks to the Great Recession. These communities are embracing austerity, and that is making us more at mercy to nature and the elements than we used to be. Just because we're stingy.
Yeah.
I mean, think about that. If it's affecting whether or not they put ice melt on all the roads, it's definitely affecting whether or not shit gets funded. Science research gets funded. I mean, doesn't seem connected, but there it is.
Speaking of nature, another amazing segue. My final story I have here is about bee breeding.
Bees?
BEEZ, yes, BEEZ. I should mention that because we had a guest last week, not all our stories are super fresh.
Yep.
Penn State program trying to workshops to train bee breeders to, like, combat pests and other conditions.
Yay, bees! I love bees, and I remember when they started dying and I was devastated. I've even been stung. I've only been stung twice in my life, and then I got all kinds of sad when I found out when a bee stings you, it dies too.
Yeah.
I like bees. They remind me of summer and happy and flowers and whatnot, and ever since I learned that bees make the flowers happen, I've been hooked. Bees and butterflies, man. I was so happy when they found out that they were rebounding. I was surprised how tore up I was when I learned that the bees were disappearing. Like, not only is that really, really sad, because I think bees are adorable, especially bumblebees, because they fly like they're drunk. It's so cute. And what the bees do, and how interesting the bees are, because the hive literally acts as a single organism. It's like you can look at the whole hive, as a single individual because of how well these creatures work together. It's amazing.
Yeah, it is pretty cool.
Bees are awesome, and them disappearing like they were, and how mysterious it was at first, the,
Colony collapse disorder?
Yeah, colony collapse disorder, trying to understand exactly what that was at first. It's like, all of a sudden, the bees are disappearing. I'm sorry, but that screams apocalypse to me. I heard the bees were disappearing, and I'm just like, fuck, the end is nigh. That is an apocalyptic sign if I ever saw one.
Unfortunately, speaking of conspiracy nuts, a lot of anti-GMO people are like, oh, GMOs are causing the bees to die. And it's like, that doesn't make sense.
That makes no fucking sense.
But that pissed me off. But basically, this breeding program is partially to counter colony collapse disorder. And I'm basically trying to use digital social tools to train more and more beekeepers to selectively breed queens.
Yes. Oh, social tools. Think we could get in on that? Because I love the bees. I do love me some bees. Allow me to take this moment to say, bees.
Yeah, actually, I tried emailing the researcher in charge.
Yeah?
Got no response. I did mention that I was going to biotech, and I wanted to discuss genetic engineering of bees also. So maybe that was bad, because it's all about breeding.
Could we at least, like, make some cool stuff for them?
I don't know.
Maybe a fun Flash cartoon that's, like, super adorable, explaining the importance of preventing the colony collapse.
Disorder?
Yeah.
That sounds like a lot of work.
Okay, since you can't see me, I'm gonna tell you that I have the cute anime disappoint face on me at the moment. I am totally giving you the anime teardrops.
Oh. I can only assume they either didn't see my email or didn't like that I was into genetic engineering. I don't know. I'm just guessing. When you're dealing with a developed country, to me, breeding just seems so lame.
Hey man, it's a way to get it done.
I know, but we have the technology to literally inject any genes we want into an organism.
Yes, but we don't have the background knowledge of the organism or the particular disorder to know exactly what all of that...
I'm sure, yeah, but they're just selectively breeding for, like, pests and temperature tolerance.
Well, we need to better understand exactly how these mechanisms work. And fact is, we don't have everything charted on every single fucking species there is. And there's also the epigenome to think about. Not only that, but genetic tweaking can have a whole plethora of different outcomes when you do it with any species. It takes massive amounts of testing that... I'm sorry, breeding's just cheaper. It's just plain old cheaper, and it's something that beekeepers can do. I mean, you'd need a biohacking beekeeper, and something tells me those are in short supply.
I guess. I'm sure someone's done research on bee genetics and whatnot.
Yeah, but this particular program is more geared toward working with the actual beekeepers, not working in a lab.
Yeah, I know that.
I mean, seriously, what we could do for them is make a whole bunch of media to help their cause. We could help format and create a slideshow or a podcast about beekeeping. And neither of us are beekeepers.
That is true. If anyone in the audience is connected to the Penn State research-led colony collapse disorder prevention, beekeeping, breeding program, or webinars, get in touch with us.
We could make t-shirts, I could do free voice work, we could do a funny yet insightful podcast, we could make you a video. to put on your website to tell people about the program. You could get us information, and we could make videos for the webinar courses if you want. But I don't think they're gonna listen to us, man. I don't know. I think we're just gonna have to accept the fact that they're just not into us this way, Q. Stop over-analyzing why they rejected us and move on with our lives. I mean, it sucks getting dumped, especially when you never got a date in the first place, but I don't know.
See, this is turning into a relationship podcast like last week.
Oh god, we know that leads to communism, so let's, The intensive amount of cooperation that relationships entail, it just seems so Marxist to me.
That's true. Anyways, it made me reconsider going into plant genetics. I might switch to bee genetics, because that sounds kind of awesome.
Bees.
Because I could make super bees that kick the ass of all the other bees.
Oh god, I just remembered back in the day. Maybe this is why I like bees so much, but when I was a kid, there was a huge killer bee scare. Like, there was apparently these really aggressive bees that looked identical to regular bees that would just swarm and kill pets. Killed a few pets down in Texas, and there was this huge killer bee scare back in the day, and they called them Africanized bees, which always seemed a little racist to my 9-year-old sensibilities, and I think it may have actually been kind of racist.
No, I think they're just crossbred with an African breed of killer bees.
That's exactly what had happened.
Okay, so what you're saying is I should genetically engineer these bees as a weapon.
Sure.
Yay!
Call them something other than Africanized, man, because that's racist.
They're gonna be weaponized bees.
Weaponized bees. There we go. That's very politically correct right there. Weaponized.
Except when I kill a bunch of people with them, and not so much.
Well, at least your weapon is politically correct.
True.
So, nice little segue. Let's see. You want to end there?
Sure. Do we really have a natural endpoint, or should we, wrap it up?
Natural end point. Dun 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 dun.